The chamber was quiet except for the soft hum of the station's gravity core. White light reflected from smooth alloy walls, making the room feel cold and exposed. Elias Ward stood alone at the center, his hands resting calmly at his sides. He wore the standard gray uniform of the Terran Defense Corps, unmarked except for a small symbol on his chest, Earth's crescent and star. Across from him stood the woman the Council had warned him about. She was tall, graceful, and not entirely human. Her skin shimmered faintly like moonlit glass, and thin lines of blue light pulsed beneath it, moving slowly as if alive. Her eyes were dark, endless pools that reflected too much. She leaned closer, invading his space without touching him. "You really want to know what I'm wearing underneath?" she whispered. Several hidden observers stiffened behind the one-way barrier. They expected Elias to react, to step back, to show discomfort or at least confusion. That was how these meetings usually went. The Virelian emissary used presence, suggestion, and fear as weapons. Most species broke within minutes. Elias did not move. He met her gaze calmly, his expression unchanged. "If you are hiding a weapon," he said evenly, "you should know I'm already assuming that." The blue lines beneath her skin pulsed faster, her lips curved, not quite a smile. "Interesting," she said. "Most beings focus on what they want to see. Humans focus on what might kill them." "That's how we survived long enough to meet you," Elias replied. The emissary straightened slightly. Her name, translated roughly into Terran language, was Sithra. She was not only a diplomat, she was a test. The Galactic Concord had sent her to judge whether humans were ready to stand as equals, or whether Earth would become another managed world, guided and controlled for its own protection. Sithra slowly lifted one arm and pressed her palm against her chest. The surface of her body shifted. Plates unfolded like liquid metal, revealing a layered suit beneath her skin. It was not clothing. It was integrated technology, adaptive armor, energy conductors, neural weapons bound directly to her nervous system. Gasps echoed silently behind the barrier. "This," she said, her voice now colder, "is what I wear underneath, a reminder that I am never unarmed." Elias nodded once. "That explains the confidence." She tilted her head. "You are not afraid." "I am," Elias said. "I just don't let it make decisions for me." Sithra studied him closely. Humans were strange, physically fragile compared to many species, short-lived, limited senses, yet they carried themselves like beings who refused to accept limits. The Conquered found that dangerous. "Your kind reached the stars quickly," she said, "too quickly, without guidance, without restraint." Elias exhaled slowly. "We didn't have the luxury of waiting." She turned away and began to walk in a slow circle around him. Each step was silent, predatory. "Your world nearly destroyed itself. Wars, climate collapse, artificial plagues, and yet you survived, not because you were stronger, but because you were stubborn." "That's one word for it," Elias said. "Another would be uncontrollable." Elias followed her with his eyes but did not turn. "Control is a funny concept," he said. "Every empire believes it brings order. Every subject feels the chains." She stopped behind him, close enough that he could feel a faint warmth, like static before a storm. "The Conquered offers peace," she said, "trade, technology, protection." "And oversight," Elias replied. "Restrictions, silent corrections when we step out of line." Her eyes narrowed. "You speak boldly for a species still under evaluation." Elias finally turned to face her. "We didn't come here to beg." The room seemed to grow heavier. The gravity core hummed louder, reacting to rising energy levels from Sithra's suit. "Then why did you come?" she asked. "Because," Elias said, "you wanted to see what kind of people would look at beings like you and still choose to stand on their own." For the first time, Sithra hesitated. Memories surfaced in her mind. Civilizations that bowed quickly, others that resisted and were broken. None had spoken like this human. None had accepted fear without surrendering to it. "You assume much," she said. "We learned too," Elias replied. When you grow up knowing extinction is always one bad decision away, you learn to think ahead. Sithra stepped back, folding her armor back beneath her skin. The blue light dimmed but did not disappear. Your species frightens many on the council, she admitted. You innovate without permission. You adapt faster than predicted. You turn weakness into strength. Elias allowed himself a small smile. That's the nicest threat we've ever been given. She studied him again, this time not as prey or subject, but as a variable. Tell me, Elias Ward, she said slowly. If the conquered decides you are too dangerous, too unpredictable, what will humanity do? Elias did not answer immediately. He thought of Earth, of crowded cities and quiet farms, of scientists working through the night, of soldiers standing watch not because they loved war, but because they loved home. We'll do what we've always done, he said. Adapt, endure, and if necessary, defend ourselves. Sithra felt something unfamiliar tighten in her core. Resolve. Then this evaluation, she said, turning toward the exit, has only just begun. As the doors sealed shut behind her, the observers released the breaths they had been holding. Data streamed across their screens, energy readings, behavioral markers, risk projections. None of the models could fully explain what they had just witnessed. A fragile species had stood unbroken before a living weapon and had not flinched. Far beyond the station, Earth rotated quietly in the dark, unaware that its future had shifted. And Sithra, walking alone through the corridor, wondered for the first time whether the galaxy was ready for humans at all. The corridor outside the chamber was long and curved, its walls alive with flowing symbols that shifted as Sithra walked past. The station reacted to her presence, recognizing her authority. Yet her thoughts were no longer as controlled as before. The human had not bowed. He had not threatened. He had simply stood. That unsettled her more than open defiance. Far behind her, the chamber doors opened again. Elias Ward stepped out, escorted by two conquered sentinels. They were tall, armored beings with segmented limbs and featureless masks. Their weapons were built into their arms, humming softly. Elias walked calmly between them, his posture relaxed, his breathing steady. Most species showed signs of stress when moved deeper into a conquered station. Elevated heart rate, defensive gestures, submission signals. Elias showed none. The sentinels guided him into a transit lift. The doors closed and the lift began to descend through the station's core. Layers of artificial gravity fields passed around them like invisible waves. One sentinel spoke in a neutral tone. You are being relocated for continued evaluation. Sounds serious, Elias replied. It is, the sentinel said. Your responses have exceeded expected parameters. Elias raised an eyebrow. Exceeded in a good way or a bad way? The sentinel did not answer. The lift stopped. The doors opened into a wide observation hall. The space was circular, with a transparent floor revealing the stars below. At the center floated a holographic platform. Around it stood representatives of different species, tall, small, scaled, furred, luminous. The Galactic Conquered Council. Sithra was already there. She stood slightly apart from the others, her expression unreadable. As Elias stepped forward, dozens of eyes fixed on him, some curious, some wary, some openly hostile. A massive being with layered stone-like skin spoke first. This is the human representative. Yes, Sithra said. The being studied Elias. He is unimpressive. Elias smiled politely. You should see us when we're tired. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Humor in a judgment hall was rare, dangerous. Another council member leaned forward. It was slender, with long, translucent limbs and eyes that glowed faintly. Human, it said, your species has expanded rapidly. You claim peaceful intent, yet your history is full of violence. Elias nodded. That's true. The council paused. Many expected denial. We fought each other, Elias continued. A lot, over land, over ideas, over fear, and we paid for it. The stone-skinned counselor rumbled. And yet you still build weapons. Yes, Elias said simply, because we learned something important. Sithra watched closely. That peace without strength doesn't last, Elias said, and strength without restraint destroys everything. Silence followed. The translucent counselor tilted its head. You believe your species has restraint. We're learning, Elias replied. Sometimes the hard way. A sharp clicking sound came from another counselor. This one was insect-like, its compound eyes glittering. Your fleets move independently. Your scientists refuse oversight. You reverse engineer conquered technology without permission. Elias spread his hand slightly. Curiosity is kind of our thing. That makes you dangerous, the insectoid said. Elias looked directly at it. So does fear. The words hung in the air. Sithra felt it again, that tightening sensation. Humans spoke plainly, even when it was risky. They did not wrap their intentions in layers of ritual. The stone-skinned counselor shifted. We have considered containment. The words sent a quiet ripple through the chamber. Elias did not react outwardly, but his mind sharpened. Containment meant restrictions, surveillance, forced treaties. It was how the conquered dealt with species it did not fully trust. And if we refuse, Elias asked. Several counselors exchanged looks. Sithra stepped forward. Then conflict becomes possible. Elias met her gaze. We prefer cooperation. But you are preparing for war, the insectoid said. We prepare for survival, Elias replied. There's a difference. At Sithra's gesture, the holographic platform activated. Images filled the air. Projections of human colonies, trade routes, research stations. Fleets small compared to the conquered but efficient, adaptive. Your ships are crude, said one counselor, yet effective. We build what we can fix, Elias said, even when things go wrong. The hologram shifted. A simulation played out. A human vessel crippled in deep space. Systems failing, crew adapting, rewriting code, repurposing life support to power engines. Survival, Sithra spoke quietly. They don't wait for rescue. No, Elias said. We assume help might never come. That more than anything unsettled the council. Another projection appeared. A battle simulation. Human ships facing a superior force. Losses heavy. Retreat impossible. The outcome changed. Human vessels altered formations mid-fight. Weapons overloaded beyond safety limits. Boarding actions launched where none were expected. Improvisation turned defeat into narrow escape. The insectoid hissed. They break rules. Elias shrugged. Rules don't always survive contact with reality. The council withdrew into a brief private exchange, communicating through channels Elias could not hear. He waited, hands clasped behind his back, eyes steady. Sithra studied him from the side. She had seen warriors boast and diplomats lie. This human did neither. He accepted weakness without shame and strength without arrogance. The council turned back. We will test your species further, the stone-skinned counselor said. A controlled scenario. Elias nodded. Go on. There is a border system, Sithra explained. Unstable, hostile entities, a failed conquered outpost. The translucent counselor continued. Many species have refused involvement. The risk is high, the environment unpredictable. You want us to handle it, Elias said. Yes, Sithra replied. Observe, intervene, survive. And if we succeed, Elias asked. The council hesitated. Then containment will be reconsidered, the stone-skinned one said. And if we fail, Elias asked. Sithra's voice was quiet. Then the council's fears will be confirmed. Elias exhaled slowly. You're using us as a stress test. That is accurate, Sithra admitted. Elias smiled faintly. We're used to being underestimated. The council dismissed him. As Elias turned to leave, Sithra followed. They walked together through the station's inner ring. No guards this time, just the low hum of machinery and distant stars. You understand the risk, she said. Yes, Elias replied. People could die. They already have, Sithra said. At that outpost. Elias stopped. Then we won't waste time. She studied him. Why agree so easily? Because, Elias said, if there's a chance to save lives, we take it, even if someone's watching. Sithra felt something shift. The conquered valued stability above all. Humans valued action. As they reached the docking bay, a human ship came into view. Smaller than conquered cruisers, angular, scarred, its hull bore marks of repair, not decoration. Sithra paused. Your vessel is damaged. Elias looked at it fondly. That's experience. She almost smiled. As Elias boarded, Sithra remained behind. She watched the ship power up, engines flaring bright and uneven, not elegant, but alive. Data streamed across her internal interface. Risk projections spiked. For the first time since she joined the Conquered, Sithra felt uncertainty, not about the humans failing, but about what success would mean. Because if humanity survived this test, the galaxy would have to accept a truth it had long avoided. Some species could not be guided. Some could not be contained. They could only be respected or resisted. And as the human ship jumped into the void, Sithra suspected the Conquered was about to learn which choice was wiser. The human ship emerged from jump space with a violent shudder. Warning lights flashed across the bridge as inertial dampeners struggled to stabilize. Elias Ward gripped the edge of the console, his eyes already scanning the damage reports. "Status," he said calmly. "Shields at 60%, the pilot replied. Long-range sensors picking up debris, a lot of it. The view ahead slowly cleared. What remained of the conquered outpost drifted in silence. Broken towers spun end over end. Docking rings had been torn apart as if twisted by invisible hands. The stars beyond looked sharp and uncaring. Elias felt his jaw tighten. People had lived here, worked here, trusted that the Conquered would protect them. "Any life signs?" he asked. The sensor officer hesitated. "Faint, scattered, some readings are strange." Define strange. "They don't match known species profiles." Before Elias could respond, the ship shuddered again. A ripple passed through space itself like a stone dropped into water. "That wasn't a weapon," the pilot said. "It was space reacting." Elias straightened. "We're not alone." A shape began to form near the ruins. Not a ship, not exactly. It looked like folded darkness edged with pale light. As it moved, reality bent around it. The crew went silent. "These are the entities the Council warned about," the sensor officer whispered. "Nonlinear. Partially dimensional." Elias nodded once. "So the usual nightmare." The thing shifted. Another appeared, then another. The ship's system screamed warnings. Targeting struggled to lock. Sensors contradicted each other. "They don't exist in one place," the weapons officer said. "They're everywhere and nowhere." Elias took a slow breath. "Then we stopped trying to fight them like targets." The crew looked at him. "We adapt," he said, "like always." The first attack came without warning. A wave of distortion slammed into the ship. Consoles sparked. Gravity flipped for half a second. Someone cried out as they were thrown against a bulkhead. "Damage control," Elias shouted. "Port side hull breach sealed," someone replied. The entities circled, curious, probing. "They're testing us," Elias realized, "seeing how we react." Another wave hit, stronger this time. The ship groaned. "We can't outgun them," the weapons officer said. "Our shots pass through." Elias stared at the tactical display, mind racing. Human history flashed through his thoughts. Countless times when stronger enemies had appeared. Countless times humans had survived by refusing to fight on the enemy's terms. "What do they react to?" Elias asked. "Energy spikes," the sensor officer said. "Gravitational shifts, neural emissions." "Neural," Elias repeated. "Yes, they seem drawn to thought patterns, intent." Elias felt a spark of understanding. "They're not just attacking ships, they're interacting with minds." Another wave struck, closer, more focused. "They're learning," the pilot said. "So are we," Elias replied. He turned to the engineer. "Can we reroute the neural interface feedback loop?" The engineer stared. "That's experimental, it could overload the crew." "Can we do it?" Elias asked. A pause. "Yes, do it." As systems shifted, Elias felt a pressure behind his eyes. The ship's neural network linked more deeply with the crew, thoughts sharpened, fear became harder to hide. The entities reacted immediately. They surged closer, drawn to the sudden clarity of human intent. "They like this," someone muttered. "Good," Elias said. "Then let's give them something to choke on." He opened the ship-wide channel. "Listen up, they're reading us. Fear feeds them, confusion feeds them, so we do what humans do best." He paused. "We focus." The crew steadied, breathing slowed, training kicked in. Not panic. Not chaos, determination. The neural field changed. The entities faltered. Their movements became erratic. "They don't like this," the sensor officer said in surprise. Elias nodded. "They expect prey, we're not that." One of the entities lashed out violently, tearing a chunk of debris apart. The explosion sent fragments flying, but the human ship held steady. "Redirect power to the gravitic projectors," Elias ordered. "Not as weapons, as anchors." The engineer's eyes widened. "You want to stabilize space around us?" "Yes," Elias said. "Force reality to behave." It was reckless, it was brilliant. The projectors activated. Space around the ship tightened, snapping into defined structure. The entities screamed not with sound but with sudden violent distortion. "They're losing coherence," the weapons officer shouted. "Now," Elias said, "we push." The ship surged forward, not firing weapons but projecting stability like a shield. The entities recoiled, unable to exist where rules applied too strongly. One by one they unraveled, folding back into whatever dimension they came from. Silence followed. The stars returned to normal. The crew stared at the displays in disbelief. "We did it," the pilot said softly. Elias exhaled. "Not yet, check for survivors." Rescue operations began immediately. Shuttles launched. Human medics worked without rest, adapting equipment for unfamiliar biology. They didn't wait for conquered approval. They didn't ask whose lives mattered more. They saved everyone they could. Hours later, the human ship departed the system, battered but intact. Behind them, a stabilized zone remained, a place the entities could not return to easily. Back at the conquered station, Sithra stood before the council as the data streamed in. The chamber was silent. "They survived," the stone-skinned counselor said slowly. "They adapted," the translucent one added. "They imposed order where none existed," the insectoid said, its tone uneasy. Sithra watched the replay of the final moments. Humans facing beings beyond conventional reality and refusing to yield. "They didn't dominate," she said. "They stabilized. They protected. They endured." "That makes them dangerous," one counselor said. "No," Sithra replied, "it makes them responsible." The council fell into heated debate. Words like containment and oversight resurfaced, but weaker now, uncertain. Sithra stepped forward. "You tested them under impossible conditions. They passed. And if next time they turn that strength against us," someone asked. Sithra's eyes hardened. "Then the fault will not be theirs alone." Days later, Elias stood once more in the observation hall. This time no guards escorted him. "You exceeded expectations," the stone-skinned counselor admitted. Elias shrugged lightly. "We usually do." The translucent counselor regarded him carefully. "Humanity will not accept containment." "No," Elias said. "But we will accept responsibility." Sithra met his gaze. "The conquered will recognize Earth as an independent power." A murmur spread through the chamber. "Equal standing," the counselor continued, "with all the risks that entails." Elias nodded. "That's all we asked." As he turned to leave, Sithra spoke quietly. "When I asked what you were wearing underneath, I meant your nature, your true self." Elias smiled faintly. "Now you know." "Yes," she said, "and the galaxy will remember." As the human representative departed, Sithra looked out at the stars. They felt smaller now, more uncertain. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy. It had done something far more unsettling. It had proven it could not be ignored. And somewhere deep in the void, the universe adjusted. just slightly, to make room for a species that refused to break.